a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of the weeks leading up to New Year, and everyone's like, oh, my word of the year, or this is what I'm going to focus on this year, and I have a New Year's resolution, and that's just a lot.
It's like every holiday. Even the kids put pressure on themselves for what and expectations about what the New Year's Eve is going to look like.
Girl.
And they're always disappointed.
Right. It's like almost like the excitement building up to it is the excitement.
Right.
And then, I mean, there's nothing magical about the clock moving 1 second forward into the new year.
On one night.
But for some reason, we have made it the second of the year that matters.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just asleep, people. I'm doing my favorite thing.
Right?
I'm sleeping into the new year so I can feel good the next day.
So that's super funny because I did spend New Year's Day, and I said, I'm going to spend New Year's Day doing things that I want to do for the rest of the year that are important to me.
Oh, I like that.
Right? So, I can't tell you all the things that I did because that's not this kind of show. We'll keep it PG. But I do love my husband. And I walked with a friend and I journaled and I spent time outside and I spent time with family. And so, but then as I was walking, I was thinking about the 1 second.
Right.
If you don't get it right in this 1 second, and you don't make the right resolution, your whole year is screwed. Like, that's what you're doing for the year, people. But then I was like, why is it once a year you get to do this? Like, technically, we have 12 months. We could start over every month. We have 4 quarters.
365 days to start
365 new beginnings because his mercies are new every day.
Every single day.
So what if every day we woke up with the excitement that we do on New Year's, excited to start afresh?
I like it.
I mean, here's the thing. I know you like to make soup, so let's talk about soup.
Oh, I love soup.
Okay. So if you're Allison, you're in your kitchen and you're chopping up the vegetables, which she loves to chop up vegetables, and she's picked out the best meat to put in her soup if she has meat in it. And then she goes and she sautés them to soften the vegetables, and she puts all the juices in and then just turns it up.
Herbs to bring out their flavors.
Yeah. And then you just turn on the pot and you leave it for 12 hours and never look at it again, right? Right. No, you're going to burn the pot. You have to keep checking in.
That's when your bottom gets burned.
That's when your butt gets burned, girl.
And then it makes the rest of your soup taste bad. The whole thing is, you got to dump it all out. And the worst part, even worse than throwing out your soup, is you have to scrub the burned stuff off the bottom of the pot.
Because there's residual mess from your burnt soup.
Yeah, and it is not easy. It takes a lot more effort to clean up the burn than just to clean a regular clean soup pan.
So what is a better option?
Pay attention to your soup. Don't just turn it on the stove and walk away.
Yeah, and you have to keep checking in.
Absolutely.
So, like, we should check in.
Tasting it. Seeing what you need to add.
Oh.
Seeing if it's gotten any better, any worse. Does it need a little more salt? Mm-hmm. Does it need a little extra spice?
Yes. That's how we should approach this new year. Like a pot of soup.
I like it.
Check on your soup, people.
Yes, soup is very important in our lives, but I can give you a little example. So we mentioned, last podcast about how I study the Bible in a new way. I don't do a New Year's resolution, but I study the Bible in a new way every year, and I wasn't sure. And I never know until the very last minute, but the Lord always figures it out for me. And so I have decided that I really want to focus this year on the Holy Spirit. And doing Lectio Divina, that is very much, like listening for the Spirit, listening for the Lord, following Him, that sort of thing. So that is like my overarching mission of the year. But to do that, I will study the Bible every day, but I will be focusing on scriptures about in the Old Testament about the Holy Spirit, because He is in the Old Testament, even though, He comes to live in us after Jesus dies in the New Testament. He's still present. I mean, this has always been the Trinity. The Trinity didn't just show up after Jesus died on the cross and ascended into heaven. He's always been there. So we'll study the Holy Spirit in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and then I will look at the Trinity itself, sort of closing out the year. But that's something that I'm going to be doing every day.
Right.
That is going to take me through the year. So it's paying attention to that every day to keep my focus on that.
So your big goal
mission.
is to focus on the Holy Spirit, but then you're breaking it down and telling us how you're going to do it on the daily. You're not just going to like wake up on December 31st and be like, how'd that work out?
Yeah. Did I see the Holy Spirit at all? Did I learn anything else about him?
Yes.
You know, and along the way, I might find a book or something to read about him. Shoot, I might write a book. I don't know.
I know you well enough to know you will probably write a book about that.
Eventually. Well, it was so, as I was doing Lexia one morning, I was in Romans 12, 11 through 19, and Paul really had this cool list. I wrote New Year's tips for Paul.
I love it. Thanks, Paul. I actually like him a lot, so I'm sure it's going to be good.
But the first kind of two were stay in the Word and be attuned and expect His voice. Follow it. And I'm like,
that's a lot.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of things.
It's more than one.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So
that's kind of what I'm doing this year. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So it's stay in the Word,
Mm-hmm.
be attuned, and expect His voice, which we went back to live expectantly, right?
Yeah.
And then what was the other one?
Follow it.
Oh, yeah,
Like
there's
when
that
he
action
speaks,
step.
Oh, dang it. Like, it's one thing to hear it, but then you have to follow it.
Yeah.
Well, what I think is so interesting about this is we do have to stay in the Word, and we talk about that. But when we're in the Word, that's how we become attuned to His voice, because we recognize it. And then not only that, like these all build upon one another, but then we also need to expect to hear His voice when we're attuned to it. Like, come into time with Him being expectant of what He's going to say. And then don't just ignore it.
Well, yeah, you know, that's the ticket, right? Once you hear it, you can't be like,
Never mind.
let me roll the dice one more time, God. What else you got?
Yeah. I know. Oh, sometimes, yes. That obedience comes in. And I love, He also says pray and don't give up or give in. Which are two things that we can have a tendency to do. Give up or just give in to what the world is doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, sometimes I pray and I just got to take a nap. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I need a little bit of energy to do. But, you know, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right. Yeah. And we would do it every day. And sometimes, even when it feels easy, it's not.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, He also says, these are just such good nuggets. Help others and be inventive in hospitality.
Ooh, inventive and hospitality.
Yeah.
That sounds like something you would be really good at.
I loved thinking about this. It's such a great way to approach the new year. You know, start a new tradition with neighbors. Several years ago, I started a favorite things luncheon with it's like the first Wednesday of Christmas, of December. And I do it with my neighborhood girls, and I think we're on like 7 or 8. I started a chili cook-off. We're going to, where we all get together and we do like this big chili cook-off. It's the 10th annual this year.
Oh my gosh.
A decade of doing this, and it's just, thankfully, people really look forward to it. And it's a fun night. We're not up late, but we get to try a bunch of good chilies and laugh and have a good time. And just being inventive in how you love people and spend time with people this year.
Yeah, this is probably, coming out of your notes a little bit because I can't really see them. But I really think figuring out what it is that brings you joy and then choosing to weave that in your daily or your monthly is like brilliant. And so it also gives you something to look forward to. And when you have little things like that to look forward to throughout the year, it takes the pressure off the big things.
It does.
Right? Because you're like, this has been we had the best Christmas and New Year's that I've had with my husband ever. And I just couldn't put my finger on it because we pretty much did the same stuff we normally do, but it was my spirit and my heart that were different. Because I've been very intentional about like, weaving in the things that matter. And once you identify what matters, then you know how to pour into those things, because those things are going to fill your bucket, and then it just overflows.
Yeah, and I really had like, not a bad Christmas, but you know, it being the first Christmas without Dad, like it was just not, you know, the easiest Christmas.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's okay. I love Jesus every day of the year, not just on Christmas.
Right.
And chili cook-offs in January. I have that to look forward to.
Wait, didn't you win last year?
I did for the first time.
So is the pressure on this year now?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't even care about winning.
I love that.
I just love to have everybody over and eat a bunch of different chilies. That's my favorite thing in a restaurant. I just wish that I love a tapas restaurant, because you get to try a little bit of everything, because that's when I go into a restaurant, that's what I want. I want a little bit of every dish.
So you're essentially the person that's like, oh my gosh, I want one of everything. And then you go get it. Well done. But
I can't do that when they serve you a full course.
Right.
But I do like to eat off people's plates if they'll share a plate. Some people, that truly offends them. But I always know when you're my people, if I'm like, hey, can we share? And you're like, yeah, great.
Yeah. And if you share an entree, then you share dessert. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. Mm-hmm. Although I don't like to share my chocolate.
I don't blame you.
There's usually only one dessert I want. And it has to do with chocolate.
Yeah.
So he says, also, Paul continues and says that we should love our enemies and don't fake it.
Oh.
Oh my
gosh. But I think that is something that you can not fake, but do obediently. Do it out of obedience, and God changes your heart.
Yes, right. Absolutely. I mean, it's like not fake forgiveness. I mean, you know, we have to forgive. But we've talked about forgiveness before, so we won't stick too long on that one. But
yeah, but also love your enemies might not think what you think it means. So it might not mean they're coming over for dinner, but you can pray for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I just thought that was so funny.
That is, because I was like, oh, I don't know if I love that one. Can I pick and choose?
Yeah. That's what we want to do, right? It's like, oh, I say that I like you because you're a family member, but just kidding. I like all my family.
I love you. I just don't like you.
I love this that says laugh. He says laugh and cry with your friends.
Oh, those are the best friends, the ones that you feel comfortable laughing and crying with.
Yes, and a good mix of both.
Yes. I also love that statement, and we have all seen it, I'm sure, that says, go back and laugh in the places that you've cried and change the narrative.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm. And so maybe there's a place that you've cried this year and you want to go back and laugh. And so that might be your goal.
Yeah. I think, fortunately, I've done a little bit of both in all the places, probably. You know, I feel like a little laughter in the crying is always a good thing.
Yeah. That just means when you're really comfortable, right?
Yeah, with your people. Yeah. I feel like I've done a lot of crying this year.
You know what, though? You have a good balance.
I'm so glad you think so. Oh my gosh, it doesn't feel like it all the time over these past 12 months.
Well, maybe because the laughing comes so naturally to you and the crying is so raw this year.
Maybe.
And so surprising
annoying
to you. It's surprising, right?
Yeah.
And so that probably feels more because it's new.
Maybe.
Particularly that depth of sorrow that you have.
Anyone else? Please tell me I'm not alone.
You are
I just
not
feel
alone.
like a dork.
No.
All right. He says, don't be arrogant and stuck up. Love God's people.
Oh, I could be the don't be arrogant and stuck up, but love God's people? That's so hard. God, have you seen them lately?
I will admit, I am a snob about two things in particular.
Okay, girl, let it rip.
Pizza.
Okay.
And collards.
Okay. I know where you get your collards from. What about pizza?
I really do love all God's people. I am not saying I don't get annoyed with God's people, but I mean, I even annoy myself sometimes. So I think that's normal. I am a pizza snob. So I will only eat pizza or collards. I just know exactly what I like.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not that, I'm not eating them.
That's a really good boundary.
Yeah.
Because I just have to eat all the pizza and see which one I like and which one's, okay. I'm still going to eat it if it's pizza.
Like, I will eat pizza, but I will not even touch it if it's not the right kind. That's snobby.
Well,
But it's just not worth my calories. But I figure if I'm going to be a snob,
Right.
better for it to not be about people
right.
or places. And, well, it is a thing. Just about pizza and collards. I take my collards very seriously.
I
People.
love it. You don't take yourself too seriously, but them collards, yeah.
Serious.
Serious, man.
And Paul says, he continues on as he's closing up, and he says, look for the beauty in everybody and seek peace with them. And what I would like to add to this, and I'm sure Paul would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
He's listening right now.
Yeah, we would punch him in the face if he didn't. I'm just kidding. Look for the beauty in yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And seek to find the peace within yourself as well and for yourself. So yes, in others, but I feel as if as women that is easier for us to look for the beauty in others and to find the peace with others. It's so much easier. It's like extending grace to others is so much easier than to extend it to ourselves and look for the beauty in ourselves.
I think that's so true. And I think I've said it before, maybe, but two of the most important people to get to know very well and love and appreciate are God and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you understand yourself and love yourself and you begin to see yourself as God sees you and God created you, you're not going to be this puffed up, arrogant, look at me, I have 10,000 followers. But you're going to be able to navigate the world in such a more peaceful way.
It's so true.
All the striving, we've talked about before, the striving goes away.
The expectations.
Yeah. Man, that is a great, if you really into resolutions, maybe your resolution should be to figure out who you are.
Look for the beauty within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does bring a lot of peace. And, I think that really rolls into the last one that he finishes up with. And it's about God's job is judging and vengeance, not ours. Just leave it to him. And I do feel like if we are at peace with ourselves and looking for the beauty in everyone, including ourselves, this is a lot easier. And we are back to the very beginning, staying in the Word and being attuned to God's voice and following it. That is so easy. It is so much easier to trust him with the jobs that he's the best at.
Well, okay, so I love when you go back to the friend one or the enemy one. I'm still back on that thought where you're saying to learn to love yourself because we are our worst enemy.
Yeah. Looking for the beauty in everyone, including yourself.
Right, but there was one in the last previous paragraph that said something about your enemy.
Oh, love your enemies and don't fake it. Strive to forgive.
So love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fake it.
Right.
And forgive yourself.
Facts.
That's some good stuff right there.
That is some good stuff.
This is going to be a fun new year, I think.
Oh my gosh, I'm already exhausted.
I thought you were going to say excited, and I was like, I think you're faking it right now.
Oh my gosh, y'all, this takes so much work. Just to go through the wall instead of sit down and have a pity party at the wall, or keep building the wall up.
Yeah, this is like the extended part of this podcast. Allison and I were in a deep conversation this morning when I got here, and life is not easy for her right now. I mean, it's not ever easy for any of us, but like she is going through the thick of the mud, right? And so think of those like little mud games, where the people go crawling through the mud and they have to climb over this wall and all the mud's hanging on them and they're heavy and their clothes are sticking to them. That's where she's at right now. She's in the mud pit. And
it's good for your skin though.
She does have beautiful skin and her hair. She don't need a clay mask, girl. She's looking good.
Oh, so much clay.
But I thought it was interesting what we talked about right before we pushed record, which was Allison has had a fairly, I don't know, what do you want to call your life? I don't want to say mundane. It hasn't been mundane. It's exciting and it's fun. But it's literally like this surprise torpedo bomb came in to your beautiful green like garden and just blew it up.
Right.
And so you're just sitting here on the rubbish. I mean, it would be like an image you would see on CNN, right? Where the people are like just like distraught and grasping. I feel like that's kind of where you have been because you're experiencing all new things.
Yeah, the grief has been no joke. You know, it's so I'm really trying to work through it
Instead of putting it up.
Instead of pushing it aside or burying it and covering it up, because that won't get me anywhere. But it does take a lot of effort and a lot of work, a lot of patience on other people's behalfs as well, and patience for myself. Oh, that's so much harder.
So maybe that's where you are today. Maybe you're experiencing a new life, maybe from the loss of a marriage or a loved one or a job or a dream that's been shattered. You're not alone. Like Allison is mucking through the mud with you.
Yeah, I might go out and get some of those waders that the duck hunters wear to at least keep my cute clothes clean while I'm mucking through it. See, we got to laugh a little as we cry a little. But yeah, hang in there. We thought we'd talk about, as we get going now we'll start heading into February soon, some things that we need to let go of. We've talked a lot over the past few weeks about setting yourself up, paying attention, some things that we can do, but there are a lot of things that we need to let go of.
Yeah, and we don't have to do.
Right. I mean, emotions, feelings, like, for instance, guilt. We're going to talk about guilt. Will be our first one.
Yeah.
And so there's so many things that we can just pay attention to, hone in on, just so that we're aware of them. Because they creep in sometimes when we are not in tune and paying attention and a little more self-aware.
If you're not checking your soup, y'all, it could get burnt.
Facts.
Back to our soup.
We will have to post one of my favorite soup recipes this week.
Yes.
I have so many. It's kind of a joke, actually. When Emma was in high school, she had this little best friend, and whenever she came over, I was making a soup. In the winter, I don't really do it in the summer, unless it's a gazpacho, but I don't do that as much. And so the joke became, even when Emma's friend wasn't here, she would be talking to Emma, and she's like, "Is your mom making soup for dinner?" And that was the joke. So yes, I'm making soup for dinner, and maybe you are too.
I love it.
And I would love to hear some of your recipes as well.
Guys, we're excited for the new year. We're excited for all that is to come. Events that are coming up. You're going to hear all about them. Go to the website and just join us on the crazy journey of life.
There you go. Thanks for joining us this week on the Sun and the Sun.